We're live. Oh my God. I can feel it. We're live. I'm in shorts, and it is California, but for California, for Davis anyway, it's cold as shit. Anyway, just wanted to congratulate you guys and girls that are following along. It is day 7. We're in week number 1 of World Carnivore Month, and I appreciate every single one of you that have been asking questions. Appreciate all the people that have been helping answer questions, because there's such a flood. I'm going to talk right now about 2 questions that pop up all the time, and I'll see if I can address. Anyway, there we go. Okay, we're back. I'm growing out my beard for January too. I figured no shave January. It's no fap January as well. So no whacking off out there. I've been doing well with that. Additionally, anyway, back to the matter at hand. 2 main questions that come in. Number 1 is about cholesterol and cholesterol and how it correlates to heart disease on a carnivorous diet. And question number 2 is about fiber. So I contacted the higher ups. I talked to the carnivore lords this morning, and they have both been studying this for a very long time and researching it rigorously every single day, and communicating with people that are on a carnivore diet, communicating with doctors, other healthcare physicians, experts in the field, Paul Saladino and Dr. Sean Baker. And Dr. Sean Baker and Paul Saladino are both in full agreement that cholesterol can be a factor in heart disease in some ways, but only if it's looked at under the scope of being inclusive of many other risk factors of heart disease, such as your triglycerides, and such as your C-reactive protein and so on. I don't really like to talk science too much, because the truth is I don't know and I don't remember it. I don't remember a lot of those big words. But what I do know is I have rubbed elbows with some of the best, and they repeatedly are telling me the same thing over and over again. That's how I landed on this diet. That's how I landed on a keto-style diet and then a carnivorous-style diet. Ron Penna, who researches cancer, and he's been doing so for a very long time. He's somebody I hold in really high regard. He's researching cancer, and he's telling me that fiber isn't all that important either. So cholesterol, it can be a factor in heart disease, but something you need to know is that about 50% of the people that go to the hospital with a heart attack, they have a poor cholesterol profile. What does that mean? That means that the other 50% have a healthy cholesterol, and they have heart attack as well. So 50%, it's 50-50. It's not a direct correlate. So if you look at it under a microscope and just say, oh yeah, this LDL cholesterol is direct correlation, then you're making a huge mistake, because it's just not. And those of you that are on meds, those of you that are on cholesterol medications and things like that, if you have a stint, that's totally different. But if you don't, you need to get off that shit. You need to have a strict diet. Maybe don't hop off it right away. Maybe be strict on your diet for a little while, and then work your way off it. But I would stop consulting with your doctor, and I would consult with Sean Baker, and I would consult with Dr. Paul Saladino. I would consult with these guys. These guys know what's up, and these guys know how to get people off of meds. Speaking of getting off of meds, I got my mother-in-law off of one of her diabetic medications, and she's working on getting off the second one after 7 days. After just 7 days of World Carnivore Month. Are we kicking that much ass? God damn, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate everybody being hyped up and fired up, because you guys are making the difference. My brother and I were mentioned on Joe Rogan, I think yesterday. My brother sent me the clip this morning, and that's really encouraging. That really fires me up, that we're making that big of a difference or that big of an impact. But that all starts with you guys. That all starts with the individuals that are following, the individuals that are liking the content, the individuals that are bumping us up on social media. Otherwise, Joe Rogan wouldn't know who I am. So the other thing is, so we talked about cholesterol, not a huge concern, although cholesterol can be a concern. And also, if you're going to get blood work done, make sure you're getting comprehensive blood work done, and make sure you're getting a full panel done. Make sure they're testing multiple things. I would look at some of the work from like Stan the Rhino Efforting. He's got great information on like what kind of blood work you should be getting, but you should be getting your testosterone levels checked, and you should be getting your estrogen and your cortisol and your all that shit. You should be getting everything checked out, because just getting like your blood pressure reading or just getting your cholesterol isn't going to really do shit for you. The medical system is unfortunately not set up that great for stuff like that. A lot of times the medical system can be really great for certain surgeries and to save people's lives under many, many different conditions. But when it comes to I'm like kind of screwed up, I kind of don't feel good, all they do usually is prescribe you medication or put a cast on something. They can't really do much for you. And the reason is, it's not their fault. Guess whose fault it is? It's your fault. It's our fault. It's our own fault. Because the only one that could do anything about it is ourselves. You can't have a doctor fix what you need to have fixed, because you're the one who needs to fix it. That's the way it works. That's the way of the world. That's just the way it is. So cholesterol is a big question I get asked all the time. Hopefully we put that myth to rest. You don't need to worry about butter and saturated fat. There's not a huge correlation with butter and saturated fat causing cholesterol issues. And there's not a huge correlation to cholesterol and heart disease. So we can just put all that to rest. There's no reason to even be concerned about it. If you do have unusually high cholesterol, then you're going to want to seek some sort of medical attention. But really, more so than anything, you just need to get on a diet, because you can take all the medicine that you want and it ain't going to do shit for you. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to actually help the root cause of your problem, which is your diet. It's your diet. Fat boy on a diet, don't try it. Here's my brother sitting in his car right here. Hey, he's probably on Instagram. He'll see me walking. He doesn't even see me, but might see me walking by. Maybe not. He's got his head down. Pretty funny. Sitting there in his Mind Bullet car. Hey, look at this. Look at these threads. This is a new Lift Through It flannel. This thing is sick. Anyway, what was the other dumb question? Oh, about fiber. So, first of all, why do people think that you need fiber to be healthy? I don't know. I don't know where that came from. Did it come from marketing and cereal and oatmeal and all these different things? Probably. That's probably where it came from. That's kind of the way things work here in the United States, right? Things get advertised out to us so much that we just start believing whatever's advertised to us without ever searching for it in the first place. So some people will say, hey, look, man, without eating extra fiber, I can't poop. Well, that's because they already have fiber. They already have some fiber in their diet. Fiber is kind of a tricky sucker. But my observation and my theory, my hypothesis, if you will, on fiber is that once you remove a lot of it, then you won't have any problems at all, and you won't need extra fiber. So I think some people are getting in a little bit of fiber, and then they start having less fiber. They're like, man, I can't poop. But also, it's not that you can't poop a lot of times. It's just the fact that you changed your diet. You changed your nutrition plan a little bit. Change your food, change your poop is the truth of it. So that's what happens. That's what happens is that when you change up your diet, you might not poop for a day or two or three, no matter what diet you switch to, because you're not used to those foods that you're eating. Now, see, I think some people are they're misinterpreting. They're misinterpreting they're misinterpreting they're misinterpreting the fact that they didn't poop for a few days with constipation. You're not actually constipated. You're just adjusting and you're just getting used to some new foods. Something just popped in my head real quick because I was just walking by this. There was a missing cat picture on the thing, and then I just walked by a cat earlier, and I'm kind of wondering if that's a missing cat. So I need to walk back, retrace my steps, and see if I can help somebody find their missing cat. Oh, that was weird. That was crazy. That I was just saw that. I literally think I walked by a cat, and then a few blocks later, I think I saw a missing cat sign. So I will go back in a little bit and see if I can figure that situation out. Somebody with a leaf blower. Somebody with a leaf blower. That's my new thing is going to be to walk until there's somebody with a leaf blower, which is not very far when you're here in downtown Davis, because God forbid there's any fucking leaves on the ground. So the other thing about fiber, I think that is really misunderstood, is like the reasons on why we need it. I think people will say, oh, well, we need fiber to be healthy. And say, once you say why, and you ask again, and they're like, well, we need it to poop. We don't need it to poop. You can digest meat just fine. Just think about it from an evolutionary standpoint. Did you need to kill a buffalo or something like that? And then did you need to scrape together a bunch of spinach to be able to poop that out in a healthy fashion? That doesn't make any sense. And I know that people will say, oh, well, those humans died very young. But yeah, they didn't die from that kind of thing. They died because they were in a war, or they died because they were in a fight, or they died, infections and weird things like that. They didn't die from the shit that we die from today, but they also didn't live long enough to see if they would die from those things. So we were actually really never found out. We're never found out what the right human diet is or was. Nowadays we can find out, and we can test it out, and we can jump on a carnivore diet, and we can try to do it, and be as effective as we can with all these negative food influences around us. It's actually quite difficult nowadays. But anyway, you don't need fiber. You don't need to sweat your cholesterol. And appreciate all the questions you guys have coming in. I think we have some in the... oh, whoops. That's the wrong thing. Whoa, I don't know what that was. If you guys have some questions, you could put them up in the question box, and I'll answer them. So if you got a few questions you want to ask, a lot of people have been asking about what to do about hunger, because I promote a lot of fasting. One thing I want to say is, when it comes to hunger, again, ask your questions in the question box and I'll answer them. There's none in there right now. Don't ask them on the feed, because there's too many in the feed a lot of times. Let's see, what the hell was I talking about? Oh, don't be afraid to eat. I know that I promote fasting often, and don't be afraid to have a quote unquote diet break within the diet. Don't be afraid to have a 2 or 3 day span where you just tear into a good amount of food and you say F fasting for a few days. Don't be afraid to do stuff like that. It's actually really important that you do that here and there, just to kind of switch things up a little bit, and to again, you got to give yourself that underhanded pitch. Think about how you would pitch to a 6-year-old kid if he had a baseball bat. You'd probably show him the ball, and you'd probably lob it underhand. 5, 6-year-old kid, until he got the hang of it. Then you can start throwing him some heat. So it looks like we got a couple questions here in the question box. Let's see what we got here. Caffeine, how are you getting it in? I'm not. I removed all caffeine from the diet starting on January 1, starting with World Carnivore Month. I got rid of cheese. I got rid of caffeine, all forms of caffeine, including coffee. I'm not shaving for the month of January, and I decided to join the No Fapping Club, which means no beating your meat, no beating off. Let's check out the next question. What do we got? Let's see. How to gain weight and get jacked and tan. Well, if you want to gain weight, I would still say a carnivore diet is a way to go, and I would still utilize a little bit of intermittent fasting. I would fast for a little bit shorter period of time. I would only fast probably for 12 to 14 hours a day. And because the reason why I say that is because I think that fasting can really get you in tune with, and it can really get you hungry for the right types of food. And then from there, I would do a carnivorous plan. I'd eat a lot of steak, a lot of ground beef, and then I'd also add in a little bit of carbohydrate from maybe now this is if you're lean already, though. If you're not lean, I wouldn't worry about it. But if you're skinny and don't have much muscle mass, then I would suggest that you do a carnivore style diet. I'd mix in potatoes probably more so than rice, because people have a tendency to overeat. People have a tendency to really overeat rice. So I would suggest potatoes and all variations of potatoes. By the way, the Japanese sweet potato cannot be fucked with. Additionally, I think there's variations of the carnivore diet. I'm not a purist. I don't think you have to only eat meat to be on the carnivore diet, but you want to be carnivore based. I think, if we got outside of anything less than 80% of your food, 80% of your caloric intake coming from anything other than meat, then I would say you're probably not on a carnivore diet. But, as long as you're eating meat with every meal, and you're having small additional sides of carbohydrates here and there, I wouldn't really consider that a problem. This is for gaining weight, by the way, for those of you just joining in. We got 111 people watching right now. Let's keep jacking that up. Is processed meat okay on a carnivore diet? Look, better is better, right? So we place a lot of value on the things that we spend a lot of money on. I got some Rolex watches. I got some cool shit, and I place a lot of value on those things because I bought those things and they have a value in our society. But what do they really mean? They really mean nothing, right? I would say the same thing is true with grass-fed beef and things like that. I don't think it makes any difference. I honestly don't think it makes any difference. Trying to get omega-3s from cows, to me, is like trying to get protein from vegetables. Vegetables just don't have a lot of fucking protein. So it's very hard. And same with beef. Beef doesn't have a lot of omega-3s no matter what we do to it. Even if we did fish-fed. How about that? Fish-fed beef. Salmon-fed beef. How disgusting does that fucking sound? But even if we did that, they probably wouldn't have enough omega-3s in them. So it really doesn't matter. You want to eat some processed meat here and there. Just know, I don't do that. Mark Smellyville doesn't do that. I don't eat a lot of processed meat. I don't go and get, if I do eat it, I'll have some salami or some of this or some of that. I always try to buy the better ones when I can. But what does that mean? I don't think it means anything. The ones that don't have nitrates and all that shit. Deli meat, it's just not preferable. Can you eat it? Yeah, of course you can. Yes, you can. Can you roll up some turkey and some cheese and eat it? Yes, I've done that before. Look, we're trying to get victories. We're trying to get fucking W's, and we don't care how ugly it is. We don't care if we have a 3-0 game. We don't care if we only kicked, one field goal the entire game. If that's the way we got to win, that's the way we got to win. If we got to run the ball in the snow, then we got to run the ball in the snow. We got to get down and we got to get dirty. If we have to do that with the diet, then that's the way it's got to be. I don't mind a little bit of dirty keto. However, keep it as clean as you can, you dirty bastards. Let's move on to the next question. There's really no scientific proof, by the way. So in terms of processed meats and some of those things, I would just say use common sense. When they're processed and have too much crap going on in them, you do want to try to, a good rule of thumb is this. You want things to have anywhere between 1 and 3 ingredients. So meat and salt, there's 2. Pepper, right? There's 3. So once you start getting beyond that and it's got a bunch of other stuff in it, we just can't really say what that stuff does or doesn't do. There's studies that show that they're bad. There's studies that show that they're not that bad. Let's see. Okay, I ate a carnivore diet from 0 to 23, and I'm the most shredded in the gym. Awesome. 808 stick face. Good for you, buddy. I'm very proud of you. So no fruit, and no vegetables. You want to know why? Because it's not needed. It's not necessary. Now, however, I would say, like, this is World Carnivore Month. This is a carnivore challenge. And so you're really trying to challenge yourself, and you're really trying to follow the carnivore diet with as much patience, and you're trying to be as vigilant and militant as you possibly can with it. And so because of that, we're not eating any vegetables or any fruit. Now, for me, I don't mind if some vegetables get in there a little bit here and there. They did in week number 1. But as we move into week number 2, I'm kicking them out completely. I didn't specifically eat a bunch of vegetables, but they just happened to be kind of mixed into some of the stuff I made. I made a chili that had some tomatoes, and I made a crock pot meal that had some onions. But this week I'll get rid of all that. I suggest that you guys do that as well. If you want to resume fruit once we get to the month of January, then I think that would be fine. But look, fruit is not anything that makes us fat. Don't be afraid to eat. Definitely don't be afraid to eat fruits and stuff like that. But when you're on this particular plan, when you're on this carnivore diet, there's really, there's no calling for it. You don't need it. Let's see here. What else have we got? Whew, my hands are cold. I'm getting to these questions the best I can. There's a lot of them. How's your sleep habits? I answered this question yesterday, and it's kind of embarrassing, but my sleep habits are really, really good. But, man, I need a lot of stuff to get myself to sleep. I got white noise going, which I don't think there's scientific proof behind white noise. Some people like these, what are they called? Binaural beats or something like that. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Anyway, there's not a lot of science behind some of these things, but these are just things that I do that I think that have helped me. So I have white noise. I have an ocean sound going with some rain going on. Sometimes it kind of just depends. And I use mouth tape from a company called Somnifix. You can buy it off of Amazon, inexpensive. I love the tape. It falls off here and there in the middle of the night, but I stick it back on there, and it's been very effective. It's been helping me a lot. You're a lot more efficient in your sleeping with nasal breathing. I've talked before about nasal breathing. Look up a guy named Patrick McEwen talking about nasal breathing. Huge factor in your life, and a huge factor in the development of your brain and the development of your sleep health and all different kinds of things like that. So I really love that a lot. That's helped a lot. The other thing I do is I wear an eye mask. People talk about blackout shades. Those things are fucking bullshit. They don't black out shit. They black out a little bit of stuff, but there's always some beam of light coming in from somewhere. Those things suck. Get yourself a good eye mask, and you'll be able to black out everything all the time whenever you want, even when you're on a plane. So that helps quite a bit. So I got the mouth tape, and I got the things on my eyes, eye mask, and then in addition to that, I even wear gloves. It was suggested on a Joe Rogan podcast that was about sleep with Matthew Walker, and so I started doing that. I got gloves on. I wear socks because that was also suggested. The temperature in the room is cold as fuck. It's actually very cold. I was laughing hysterically last night as I laid down with my wife. I was like, it is absolutely fucking freezing in here. What are we doing? She's like, it's freezing in here every night. I don't know what you're talking about. But that helps me to go to sleep as well. My sleep is good. I wear an Oura ring. I don't check in on it, though. I have an app for it and all that kind of stuff, and it tracks the sleep. But to be honest, I don't even really ever bother to look at it. I just know that my sleep's not great, but I do know that it's been getting better. You're supposed to get 2 hours of deep sleep a night, and for a while there, I was only getting 15 minutes, and now it's been going more to 30, and I've gotten an hour here and there. So I take a peek at it here and there, but I try to look at it too much because I try not to be discouraged. I try to just do the best I can with each and every day that I have on this earth, and I work as hard as I possibly can. If you have trouble sleeping, here's what I suggest. Work your fucking ass off. Work like a motherfucker during the day. Work your ass off, and then when 4 p.m., 5 p.m. rolls around, you'll be fucking dead. you'll be shot. And I know there's some of you that are like, I work nights. Guys, shut the fuck up. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about whatever your day looks like, whatever your schedule looks like. I don't care if you work at night. It's just, whatever your schedule looks like. During your waking hours, how about this? During your waking hours, kick some fucking ass. Put some points up on the scoreboard, and your sleeping habits will be greatly improved. Thank you so much for the question, original Pat. Next question here. What do we got? And I can't breathe worth of shit right now. It's so cold. How do you structure meals? How do you structure meals on the vertical diet? I feel I'm eating too much rice. Ditch it, man. Don't eat rice. I would say just don't eat rice. Look, if you're, here we go. This is a warning to everybody. If you're fat, don't eat fucking rice. If you're fat and you know who you are, don't eat rice. If you're fat, don't eat rice. Look, it's World Carnivore Month, so we're being strict and we're not eating any of that kind of stuff. But if you're on the vertical diet, Stan Efferding's plan, which I'm in full agreement with, I think it's a fantastic plan, works great for athletes and for people that are trying to be big and jacked. However, if you are fat, if you're 15% body fat or more, I would ditch the rice and I'd concentrate a little bit more on maybe eating potatoes or something like that, something that comes in like a portion size, because you're going to eat way too much rice all the time. It's just too hard not to eat too much rice. It tastes too good and it adds a lot of flavor and texture to your meat. And Stan is a big proponent of the monster mash, which is a beef rice bone broth combo, which is easy to devour, and that's great if you're trying to gain weight. But if you're trying to be lean, then the only way to really do that would be to do it with really, really lean meat and to really not use that much rice. And then it's really not much of a monster mash. It's more of just a sad mash at that point. Here we go. So, next question. What do you recommend working in lean cuts of meat as well as fatty? Well, so I normally eat twice a day. One meal will be a fatty bumbalati, and the other one will usually be pretty lean. I just keep it that simple. Listen, I don't count anything. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. If 3 ribeyes came across my day, then all 3 of those would be devoured. If some opportunities came up where I could get, some steak and eggs in the morning or something like that, I would eat that, and I wouldn't bother fasting for the day. Like, I just don't care. I try to fast 16 hours every single day. I usually end up fasting 6 days a week. Today I decided to do something a little different because I like doing different shit. I had breakfast this morning. I ate eggs with some butter, cooked in bacon grease, and I had some sausage with the eggs as well. I made a 12-egg omelet, and I took out like 2 egg whites out of the whole thing just to make it more yolky, to make it more yoked. And it was delicious. It was unreal. It was really, 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 really super duper pooper scooper good. I call it a yolked omelet, and they're absolutely delicious and they're unreal. And anytime you have a craving, have a yolked omelet. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Yolked omelet will satisfy every need that you want with your food, because it tastes so damn good, especially when you throw some butter on it. What I do too is I take my eggs and I throw them all in a Ninja blender, and I blend them up with I throw salt and pepper in there. By the way, seasonings are okay on the carnivore diet. I throw some seasonings in there, whatever seasonings you like. I like garlic on my eggs, just a little bit of garlic on my eggs, and a little bit of spice, a little bit of jalapeno in there as well to give it a little kick. But that's something that's worked really good for me. In terms of like, do you need to worry about eating lean cuts of meat, like if you're trying to lose weight? No, I don't think so. Look, man, this is all don't even think about this as a month challenge. Just think about this as a new way of eating. Meat heals. You want to be eating meat. You want to be after meat. You want to be protein focused. You don't want to be like the rest of America and only eat 12 or 14% or whatever the fuck it is. That is so pathetic. 12 or 14% of the diet, of the standard American diet, SAD, standard American diet, 14% protein. Horrible. Absolutely horrible. And I would guess, just a guess by what I see kids eat today, I would say it's probably 7% protein. Absolutely horrifying and pathetic. No wonder why people are so hungry and so addicted to food, because they're not getting the nutrients that they want. People are always talking about nutrients. Nutrients this, nutrients that. They're talking about potassium and sodium and these nutrient-dense foods that have vitamins and minerals and all these things. But the macro, we've been looking at the micro again, and that's great that we refocused our mind to look at the micro. But the micro is not going to ever be bigger than the macro. It's just not. You need the micros. They're important. But the macro is going to be the most important. The calories. The protein is going to be huge. Protein is so grossly underrated. It's pathetic. We've been looking at fat and we've been looking at carbs. I'm like, which one do we run off of? Hey, Smelly, should I be eating carbs or should I be eating fat? You should be eating protein. Protein first. Protein focused. It's the most satiating, and it doesn't even count as a calorie. As you guys know, it drives me absolutely insane to see people count calories. In fact, in an upcoming video, I'm going to take a scale, a food scale, and I'm going to smash it with a fucking sledgehammer, because I just think it's so stupid of a practice and a complete waste of time. It just drives me absolutely insane, because the food choices that you have and the food choices that you make, they dictate your calories more so than anything. It's a little bit like training. You let the weight dictate the amount of reps you're going to go for. Or you let the amount of reps you want to go for the day dictate the amount of weight you're going to put on the bar. But it's not, you don't need to count and weigh everything out all the time. Anyway, I got a little sidetracked. Sorry about that. Calorie rant. Calorie counting cunts is what I call people. And I want you guys to call people the same. Tell people flat out, say, stop being a calorie counting cunt. Just like that. Even if it's a female, go for it. Do you use anything on the carnivore diet to help with having better poops? No, and there's no need to. And so what can happen is your poops can get liquefied when you're on the carnivore diet. When you're on it for a little while, they can get like nuked, I call it. They'll get kind of liquefied, and you'll end up with a little bit of diarrhea for a day or two or three or four. Hopefully, it doesn't last any longer than that. It's complicated for me to try to explain, since I don't know all the goings on of what's going on with your bowels in this situation. But the basics of it is that you don't have a bulk mass of fiber anymore. And because you don't have a bulk mass of fiber anymore, things are going to be more watery, if that makes sense. You don't have a sponge in your system anymore. But you do not need vegetables. I repeat, you do not need vegetables. There's actually a lot of studies. There's studies that show that fiber can make you poop bigger. Fiber can make you poop more. But there's also studies that show that fiber can make people constipated. So fiber is a tricky bitch. And I don't think it's a main focus. I don't think it's anything that we need to really worry about. You do not need a human being does not need any dietary carbohydrates. Human beings, me, you, whether you're white, black, Chinese, boy, girl, man, woman, none of us need fiber. None of us need dietary carbohydrates. So that's something to think about. And if you're having a little bit of trouble with your bowel movements, that's just going to be a few days worth of shit, basically, is what it's going to be. Because that's kind of one of the biggest questions that get asked. all the time. It's how this video started for today. I'm going to answer a few more. Stay with me. Guys, keep sharing this information out with other people. Keep telling other people about Mark Smelly-Bello's YouTube channel. I'm crushing it over there. I'm recording every single day. We're going to have 31 days of World Carnivore Month, and who knows, maybe it will continue onward after that, since it's getting such a huge response. Really appreciate everybody paying attention to it. How do you find jeans that fit your muscular legs? Easy, very easy nowadays. There are a lot of pants that stretch. So, just find pants that are, go to a store that's got some. Well, actually, you know what? I was gonna say you can go to like a Nordstrom or something. They have a lot of different pants that are stretchy, but nowadays you can get less expensive jeans have the stretchy components to them too. So even like Levi's, I think Levi's has some stretch to them. But just like Google it or look on Amazon, you'll be able to find it pretty easy. Thanks for saying I have muscular legs. Let's start with that, huh? On a carnivore diet, do you have to eat certain cuts of red meat? No. Eat whatever meat that you want. You don't have to even eat cow, which is predominantly what people think about. People think about steak when they think of the carnivore diet, but there's hamburger, there's shrimp, there's fish, there's chicken, there's lobster, there's literally any type of meat that you want. And that's why people are like, oh man, you don't have that much variety when you're only eating meat. It's like, get the hell out of here. There's so much different meat to eat. Are you kidding me? Each one of you probably have a hunter in your family, and each one of those hunters probably has more meat than they can even eat. So find a hunter in the family or a fisherman in the family and see if you can pick off some of their food here and there. There is a tremendous amount of different types of foods that you can eat when you're only eating meat. It's actually pretty insane. And people that's kind of the first thing people say is, oh, you're going to get bored. But actually, first of all, if you were to get bored, that would be great, because then you know what you'd do? You would eat less. And who in America needs to eat less? Probably everybody is the answer to that, right? With 70 or 80% of our population being obese, 70% of our population being insulin resistant, and a huge percentage of the population dying from heart disease and obesity and very, very, very easily preventable diseases. So no, you don't need to eat a certain cut. On the carnivore diet, same question. Sorry about that. I'm still learning all this. What about lunch meat? Yay or nay? I would just say nay, but you can eat it. You can roll up some ham and you can roll up some turkey and you can chomp on it. But you can roll it in some cheese if you want. Dairy is not a bad thing to look into a little bit on this diet, but you want to be careful. Like, a lot of people turn into big fat fucks because they smash so much heavy cream and shit like that. And but having a little bit of yogurt, like a serving of yogurt a couple times a week, might be good. Keep your calcium up, things like that. Calcium, I think calcium is thrown into the electrolyte category. One thing important to know is that salt is kind of a binder for everything. So salt will help keep all your other electrolytes kind of intact, if you will. It'll keep everything going in the right direction. How much sauerkraut do you eat per meal? I don't really. It's pretty rare that I eat sauerkraut. I like sauerkraut, but it's really rare, especially right now. World Carnivore Month, not eating any of that bullshit. How often do you poop per day on the carnivore keto diet? Serious question. Once a day. It's super convenient. Just once a day, which makes things a lot nicer and a lot more convenient, and it saves me a lot of time. Are you fasting along with it? Yes, I've talked about this many, many times. I fast often. I fast pretty much every day, and I fast with a minimum of about 16 hours. Here we go. Would you ever go vegan like Clarence Kennedy? No. Don't even know who that is. What do you do to get over emotional hunger? Emotional eating is kind of a funny thing to me. It's not funny in the sense that people suffer from it, but it's a funny kind of word or wording. Emotional eating. It just makes me think of somebody like crying and then eating the thing of Ben and Jerry's. I don't really like that people even say they're an emotional eater. I think it's bullshit, really. One of the hardest things for people to have self-control over is their anger. I sometimes get mad, and maybe some people know it when I get mad, but I don't flip the fuck out. I have some self-control. And so same thing here is like, this is as simple as having some self-control and building in some discipline. I do empathize with you. I do understand what you're talking about. I've done that myself. I've had a bad day and wanted to end it with some ice cream. But man, that's a goddamn myth. That ain't gonna help you. It's gonna make you feel like shit. And especially like people that are emotional eaters are usually fat. And so it's just gonna make you feel way worse. How is that helping your emotions? It's making your emotions 1,000 times worse. It's making you fatter. You're already fat. You already have bad emotional ties with being fat. And then now you're going to throw some fuel on top of that fire? You've had issues with it for years. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Anyway, how do you battle hunger? You battle it with food. You battle it with protein. Load up. Load up. Don't be afraid to eat. I keep telling people, I keep trying to preach. I keep trying to explain to everybody. Now, listen, I do promote intermittent fasting, but it's not intermittent starvation. It's intermittent fasting. We're just trying to fast. And the reason why we're trying to fast is because we're trying to become protein focused. We're trying to be honed in on the foods that we're supposed to eat. It doesn't matter what diet you pick or what diet you do or how you do it. The truth is, if you want to be in good shape, you have a very small list of foods that you can eat. It's called meat, it's called fruit, and it's called vegetables. And that's all that you can fucking eat, and that's all that you're supposed to eat. And when you have that small of a list, and in this case, it's World Carnivore Month, so our list is even smaller. When you have that small of a list, it's important that you fast so that way you don't develop palate fatigue and you don't get off-put by the food. You're not like, I don't feel like eating meat again. If you're feeling like that, you need to fast. If you're not eating the meat that's in your refrigerator because you don't feel like cooking it, or it doesn't look appetizing because you already cooked it and you don't want leftovers, you need to fast. And for those of you that are a little bitch about leftovers, you need to fast, and you'll enjoy the shit out of leftovers. You'll enjoy the shit out of leftovers. You won't mind heating something up. Don't heat shit up in the microwave either. Don't heat up a steak in the microwave. That's just fucking stupid. Take a second and put it on a pan or something. Don't throw the thing in the goddamn microwave. How do you get over hunger? You eat, and you eat protein. If you're hungry, make some rules for yourself. Say, hey, these are the 3 things I can do when I'm hungry. Or 4 things I can do when I'm hungry. I can go for a walk. B, I can brush my teeth and go to bed. Or C, I can eat 8 hard-boiled eggs and see if I'm actually still hungry after that, which I doubt that you will be. So you got a lot of different options when it comes to being hungry. You can also just, cook up a yolked omelet, like I mentioned before. A yolked omelet is super delicious, and it's going to help get rid of a lot of cravings. Guys, I really appreciate it. Make sure you're following on the Facebook group. It's Mark Bell's Carnivore Challenge. I want to give a shout out to Dr. Baker for starting World Carnivore Month. I really appreciate him starting that. I think that this is a huge, what started out as like a New Year's resolution a couple of years ago that Dr. Baker wanted to encourage everyone to do, has turned into a New Year's revolution. And I think you're going to see more and more people talking about this diet in 2020, along with intermittent fasting. Look, intermittent fasting, I wrote about this in my last post with Joe Rogan talking about us. Joe Rogan talking about me and my brother encouraging him, or being a pivotal part in him deciding to jump in on World Carnivore Month, us being a huge influence on him. But you end up with what I call accidental. You end up with accidental intermittent fasting, because when you eat meat and when you eat protein and fat, if you were to have let's say you ate steak and eggs for breakfast, you probably wouldn't be hungry again for at least 4 or 5 hours. If you're a big boy and you have a ferocious appetite, sure, it's possible that you could eat again a few hours later. But do this over the course of 2 weeks. Continue to eat every time you're hungry. Eat when you're hungry and eat until you're full. And eat steak. And eat steak and eat eggs. And do it continuously. And eventually, no matter what your hunger level is, you'll end up with some accidental fasting, because the time period between your meals will be greater and greater. Intermittent fasting does not have to be the 16-8 model that it has been made out to be. Intermittent fasting is just not eating intermittently. You're intermittently not eating. So if you eat breakfast and you don't eat again until dinner, that would be intermittent fasting. And that's what I suggest for a lot of you that have kind of like 9 to 5s. I would eat your breakfast at home, cook up a good breakfast for yourself, head out along your day, go hit your gym, go get your work done, and then come back home and enjoy a nice big fat meal with the family. And, maybe have a kind of modest breakfast, and then maybe just get after it for dinner and crush it that way. Or you can do the Mark Smelly Bell way, which my way is what I like to call double dinner. I eat twice at night. I eat at like 4, and I eat again at like 6, and then I'm done ski with eating. Anyway, I got to do some real work. So hopefully I'm helping you guys, follow along in the Facebook group, and also follow along here, and encourage other people to follow me, because we need to get this message out there. We need to all try to help make this world a better place to live. I can't do it by myself. I need healthy, strong individuals like you guys out there doing it with me. Strength is never weakness, weakness never strength. Catch you all later.